Good morning, everyone. It is 11 a.m. It's our Saturday morning Q&A session, and our trainer or question answerer today is my partner, Mr. Tito Avila. And sir, the call is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Island. Been an interesting week, I think, for everybody, probably all over the world. Yes, we're here to answer questions. We're here to offer guidance in whatever capacity that you seek it in this Forex market here. So please feel free to type any questions in the chat, raise your hand, unmute yourself, whatever it may be, and let's do it. What do you got? Good morning, Felicia. Good morning, D.
Good morning, Tito.
Good morning, Queen. How you doing?
Doing great.
Wonderful.
Looking forward to learning something new today. In Forex world, I guess is every day.
Me too. Absolutely. We got this beautiful fall weather going on out here. It's my favorite time of year. You can see through the trees. You can see the mountains out here, all the colors and everything. It's a good time. It's a good time to be alive.
I'm on my way to North Carolina right now. So
that's where I live. That's where I'm from.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to Charlotte, and then I'm on my way to Atlanta after that. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I'm up in the mountains.
I'm paying attention. Okay, so it's real pretty. What part of North Carolina are you in?
Western North Carolina, like around Asheville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. This is like my first time driving, so I've never driven there, but I'm seeing the scenery. It looks pretty.
Okay, yeah, it's a beautiful drive. It's a beautiful drive out here.
Coming from Pennsylvania, yeah, definitely. Well, I'm gonna go on mute, so I'll be watching. I'll be listening.
All right. All right, so who's got some questions for me? Let's
So I got one question. Good morning.
Good morning.
So this is my I guess I'm in the beginning stage of this. So I'm on my demo part, but the one thing I'm trying to figure out is how do I get a broker for doing my demo, or just getting a broker period when I start doing it.
So you're not on a broker yet?
Not yet.
Okay. There are several brokers to choose from. We can't really get into specifics about brokers or recommendations about that on here, but I mean, feel free to bring that up in the GEP chat, and we can potentially talk about a couple of them, or pros and cons or whatever. But in general, every broker, every major broker at least, will have a practice account option. You can do a demo account with them, and the process of getting them is pretty straightforward usually. It's not anything that's too difficult. It's as easy as doing a live account. They give you X amount of practice money to use in the real market. And that's it. It's that simple. I mean, you just get familiar with their platform, get familiar with their process.
Okay.
So I hope that helps. I mean, it's really just a matter of choosing one and then seeing what their process is to get on board with their demo mode.
Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
I have a question about the trading times. I know we have the market that we have the London market that opens from 8 to 4, and the Asian, I think, what time does because I'm trying to trade or actually practice my charts, but I wanted to do it on a live time frame. But my time that I usually have available to do that is usually around 6 p.m. in the afternoon. So I was trying to figure out which market, because I know the Asian doesn't come on live until about 9 p.m. And I know the London is at 2 a.m. and the New York ends at 4. So what market would I go into practice around 6 p.m. in the afternoon to practice my charts?
So if your ideal trading time is going to be in the evening, then you're definitely going to be wanting to trade, the Asia Pacific market. You're gonna, yeah, you're gonna just basically if you have a chance to log on, let's say around 6, okay, and get started, get set up, start looking at your pairs, your primary pairs. You can start charting them out and getting ready. Ultimately, those let's say the Sydney market officially opens around 7 p.m. Eastern, right? And then Tokyo is around 8 p.m. Eastern, right? So that's why we just call it all one Asia Pacific. The market really gets going and kicks in at 9 p.m. Okay. That's when you really see the pairs moving for that time. So you want to get familiar with, if you don't already have preferred pairs, you want to get familiar with the pairs that are specific to that part of the world. So Japan, Australia, New Zealand.
Okay, so because I was I tried practicing with my because when I did the research, I did realize that the Australian market was open around that time, but I tried the Aussie USD, and also I tried the UJ, and both of them.
You mean NZD USD, New Zealand dollar, US dollar?
No, UJ, the US,
right, US
United
dollar,
States
right.
dollar against the Japanese yen.
Right.
And I tried the Aussie dollar versus the US dollar. And both of them, it just top-down analysis, my top-down analysis with the charting, going on the daily, finding the support and resistance and all, most recent high, most recent low, and doing all of that stuff. It was even difficult to do that because it seems as though there was no activity during that time. So I was wondering if I needed to choose a different pair or different pairs if I am going to be trading around that time, or if I was just, because I know the market is open 24 hours, but it was just,
right. Yeah, so it's very simple. It's very simple. Whatever market time that works for your schedule, you want to cater the pairs that you're trading to that time, right? You always want to trade inside of the market times that you're trading. In other words, like I said, anything that's Asia Pacific pairs, those are the ones that you want to be looking at. So like you were saying, USD JPY, right. NZD US dollar, Australian dollar US dollar. All of these pairs are going to be relevant to that time. Was there something you would like to add there, Mr. Allen?
Yes. So first, good morning. Are you talking because the market is so big, and I don't want to assume you're naming hours of the day, but you're not telling me what time zone you're talking about, because 5 to 6 p.m. East Coast time and 5 to 6 p.m. California time is two different things. So what time zone are you specifically talking about with your 5 or 6 p.m.?
Eastern time.
Okay, perfect. So now the first thing to be super clear about, and I want everybody to get this, is never take a trade from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time any day. the market is resetting and the spreads go out the roof and the market moves super wacky. So 5 p.m. is the end of the New York session. So we are participating in what I call global commerce. Okay. So like Mr. Avila is saying, you have to think about it from what the banks are doing during those times, then what the investors around what the banks are doing, right? That's the second phase. We're the third phase. We're the retail traders that's coming in behind the institutional traders that's all watching what the banks are doing. So the what I would get is a global clock. I would put it on my phone, so that way you could start being, because before we had Epic and they were telling us to go to Trading View and everything was super convenient in our own time frame. I looked at everything at GMT time, right? And so the 6 p.m. is when Sydney opens, which is what Tito was saying. And then right at 7 p.m., and of course it changes with daylight saving time, the Japan banks open. But as it's 7 to us, and we're saying at 7 Japan opens, if you look at a global clock, it's really 8 p.m. their time, right? And if you go back and look at Sydney, Australia, it's 8 p.m. their time. So what actually is happening literally is the market is moving during the banking hours of that session, right? So we get a chance to, so what you're set to do right now, Alicia, is you're set to go in the market without the training wheels of a trade alert and the live session from the Epic side. So you're looking to go out and go swimming, go fishing, go hunting. So there's some other things you have to start to study. You want to go through your 2-week syllabus better than anybody else because you're looking to go in the market without those training wheels. So, and I know in the 2-week syllabus, they talk about the different sessions and stuff like that. So what I would tell you to do, because you're taking full responsibility of how you're going to get this done, is back test. So use the time frame on TradingView because they let you set it locally, and then take all 28 pairs, right? Or as many pairs as you can, combinations you can think of, because you're looking to do it without any of the Epic help, which is cool. But then now you got to take a different set of how you're going to go at it, right? And what I would do is go for about a week for the time frame you're talking about, not 5 to 6. That's dead man's land, right? And you want to take a 5-minute chart of all the pairs you can think about. Everyone you said had the dollar to it. The U.S. market is closed during the time you're thinking about. So you're working to get that other currency. You're working to get that other, like let's say the New Zealand dollar for this example. The U.S. people are going to be off market unless they're super aggressive. So you're working to get the New Zealand banks to carry that whole trade, because we're speculating on what's going to happen. So I don't want to give you a pair because it's the thing that the time you're talking about, Sydney is just opening and Japan hasn't opened yet. And now what you want to do, because you're coming off the training wheel side of trading, is back test, which is just look at the market even now and look back a week on that hour you want to trade and look at what pairs are giving you the most volatility, but it also means liquidity as well. So have fun with it, because I mean I've done it. But you to go in the market without the training wheels, without all right now you're only going to be using the 20 pip and dip indicator, and you're going to be using the training of Epic, and then so I be ready to become a better student, and that would be my advice. But don't trade between 5 and 6 p.m. on any day, ever. It's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, because it was like you said, dead man's land. I was like, why isn't anything moving? It was like,
it's fun. It's yeah. I was in a trade with Phil one time, and we got in a trade. It was a trade alert, and we got in the trade right like at 450. And I'm mad at the trade alert. It was before. It wasn't with the Epic side of our project. And I'm like, why would you put me in a trade at 450? You're giving me a swap, like so. But we got in the trade because Phil wanted to learn, and he was in demo. I wasn't. So we took the trade and we sat and watched the market for that 5 to 6 time. I think he was almost about to quit. I think he was about to quit trading altogether. He got taken out the trade. He didn't understand why. The spread got so big that it hit based off of the spread, not actually the pips. And it just was a super good experience for him to stay away from that hour. But
Right.
that's my advice. You're right now. What I did when I got to trading is I went to go find out how does the market move in a 24-hour period. Then I went to go find out what was the most liquid time throughout the day. Then I went to go look at what was the most liquid pairs in that part of the day. And you're kind of going the reverse way. You're saying, I got this 1 hour. What is the market going to do for me during this hour? So that takes that's a different thinking process. So, but it's doable. You just got to now be willing to figure that part out, which is just back testing. Look at the market for the days the time you're thinking about, and go through all the pairs.
Okay. Because I was actually looking at that particular time frame because it was the most convenient for my time of the
Absolutely.
day.
I get it.
And also, so would you suggest I just try to, I guess, make some adjustments to just do because I usually
No, not yet. I think this is going to be a great exercise for you. You're going to become super masterful of how the trades move from 6 to 7 p.m. Just look at the ones, or so there's something called the ATR, right? You might want to get familiar with the ATR. It's called the average true range. It's an indicator, and if you put it on your chart, it'll tell you at that moment what's the average movement of that candle at that particular spot, and you can set it back for 14 bars, or you have fun. It's an education process, and you can only become a better trader for it.
Yes, sir. Let me mute my. Hold on.
Okay,
Mr.
thank you
you
so
jumping
much.
in?
I have a question. I'm more of the 2 a.m. person because I move around a lot in different time zones, and I moved from Nevada to Pennsylvania. This is Queen, and good morning, everybody. Because I be like trying to just get my question out. What I wanted to find out, because I'm going to be the different one. I'm the one that's up in the middle of the night, and I've got to get used to what's the type of currency, because that's your London. So I'm more so going to be looking at the currencies that trade that type of morning, like the USDA, pound, and those, correct? Is that more of the direction at 2 a.m.? I mean, I don't know if anybody's actually trading that early.
Well, I want to say one thing here before I answer that question, and that's just to follow up on all of this that we were talking about, and to piggyback off of what Mr. Allen was talking about with regard to the importance of approaching these times wisely. There are very particular times of day that are, what we call like turnaround times, where very big reversals can happen. The market choppy, like what he was saying, the 5 to 6 time is not a time to trade. And that's also why I was saying, 6 o'clock, that's a good time to start preparing. You could spend a good hour just charting, before you jump into the markets, whether it's 7 p.m. or at a different time zone. Similarly, 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. Those aren't necessarily bad times to trade, but it is good to note that because 2 a.m. is officially the Frankfurt opening and 3 a.m. is the London opening, sometimes you'll notice the trend will switch or things can change. So you just have to be extremely mindful and aware of that and make sure that you're preparing yourself. This is where one of my favorite sayings of all time that I try to apply into everything that I do comes into play. And it's a quote from Abraham Lincoln, where he said, "If I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend 6 hours sharpening my axe." All right. That is so relevant to these markets. The more charting you do, the more educational, the more studying you do, the more you take time to just absorb knowledge. from all of the educators in the company. The more time you spend in demo mode, all of this is sharpening your axe. You know, a lot of people get ahead of themselves. They want to just jump in and start trading as quickly as possible and throw money in the game. And this is how accounts get blown, because the axe is not necessarily sharp enough yet. If you're going to be trading early in the morning, like let's say 2 a.m., 3 a.m., just be mindful of that reversal, and always allot time for you to prepare, for you to sharpen your axe before you enter trades. You know, even with signals, I recommend before entering a signal, take a look at the setup before you actually go in on that trade, if possible. I always recommend that. That way, you know, you can get into the mind of the person that sent that signal and try to figure out what is it that they saw that allowed for them to feel confident enough to send this out to thousands of people. You know, there's something to that. As far as the pairs for the morning go, you know, the Europe session, the London session, anything that is relevant to those pairs, you know, the euro, the pound, the Swiss franc, these are all pairs that are relevant to that time frame, right? So the London, you're going to be looking at, you know, 3 a.m. through, let's say, 11 a.m. Eastern, as far as like trading hours go that are relevant to that that time frame. Does that make sense?
And Alicia, another thing.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Alicia and Queen, another thing, you back to jumping in the market without the training wheels of the trade alerts, you definitely want to 1,000% look at the news via investing.com or forexfactory.com every single time before you get in the market if you're going in. So if a trade alert came in, I'm assuming that the expert looked at the news first, because every time Coach Max trains, that's what she tells as well, because the market could be wanting to go left, and it's going to go left, whatever left is in the scenario, and then a news event could come out for that particular currency, and it can go right for about 20 minutes, and then that right could take you out the trade. So when you're set to, I got in a trade one time, and it was the interest rate for that currency for that must have been the New Zealand dollar. So I'm in the trade and I'm looking at one thing, and then the interest rate report came out. That's what blown accounts up, you know.
Yeah, because I was actually.
So basically, we will not be able to utilize the trade alerts during that time. So what's the best time to really trade using the trade alerts once we get in the active live market?
When the actual trade alert comes out. So when the trade alert comes out, that's about the time to use it. That's the other side of getting a trade alert. That is not a just get in it over the next 24 hours. This is a hot potato. Get it while it's hot. Don't let it get cold. So if I'm in a demo account, just like Tito said, if I'm in a demo account, I'll take the trade, because I'm going to learn in the trade what the person was thinking, and then all the things that go with that before I get into a live account. So I do exactly what Tito says. I look at the trade alert as a suggestion where to put my focus. And then I set the trade up, and I look at where the take profits are. Then I go to the left and see what has price been doing to make this trade make a lot of sense. And a lot of times I'm looking at I'll put a fourth take profit, which is the 20 pip mark. And then I'll do all those evaluations from there. But in demo, yeah, but Queen, you can, but the trade alerts are set where they're saying, hey, Queen, I'm getting in now. And then for you to be able to look at the notification, then pull over, go to the bathroom, get somewhere quiet, look at the chart real fast, put the trade in, and then honor whatever they take profit or stop loss was going to be. That's the design of the trade signals. But
yeah, and generally speaking, the dream team members that are sending these signals out, they are allotting for a window of time for you to be able to enter that trade safely. Like, in other words, it's not going to be a 30-second thing. You'll generally have, let's say, up to 5-10 minutes, at least, sometimes a little bit more, to get in on a signal. You know, for me, if I see that a signal happened more than 10 minutes ago, I'm probably not going to go in on it. I might look at it and see if it's still relevant. But the point is that, you know, there is a little bit of time for you to follow the process, and there needs to be a process when you trade. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about with regard to this, you know, sharpening the axe part of trading here. You know, if you need a trading plan, I don't know if you guys can see this.
Yes, sir.
And you need to write it down. That's the key here. So I got my trading plan here on this board, and you know, this is my process. Before I enter a trade, I come in, do fundamental analysis, looking at the news. I'm doing the technical analysis on the pairs that I'm going to be trading or that I'm interested in trading. And then I'm looking for certain confluences before I enter those trades. I got all those written down, the 3 R's: retest, rejection, react. All of these are the things that we're getting directly from our educators on a regular basis. And the only way you're really going to be able to establish a strong foundation is if you are consistently, if you're writing them down, right, first of all, and then you're consistently following those that plan that you laid out for yourself, as well as your rules. So your trading plan, your trading rules should be relevant regardless of if you're taking a signal, you're doing a trade, and even if you're in demo mode, right, you still want to more or less treat it like you're trading with real funds, like you would. You're establishing habits. The habits that you establish are going to dictate your success rate in the long term. So just wanted to add that in there as well.
Quick question, can you go over those steps again for your trading, the trading plan? The first 3 one, the entire.
So it's very simple, very simply put. You know, first and foremost, just like Mr. Allen was saying, the news is extremely important. I always start by looking at the news.
Okay.
Right. So you know, forexfactory.com, if I'm not mistaken, that's the primary
Forex Factory
source that Mr. Allen suggests. And it's a great place to look at the calendars. So you always want to anticipate that, especially the red folder news. Okay. And this is a big reason why a lot of times, you know, we don't trade on Fridays. It's because they can be choppy and some of the news can be a little bit crazy on those days. So news first and foremost.
Okay, and the links you said the most, the best one to look at would be Forex Factory.
Yeah, forexfactory.com. Yeah, I just put it in the chat.
All right.
And then you click on calendar, and then under calendar, you're going to see folders. Okay, the folders are going to be either one of 3 colors usually, yellow, orange, or red. Yellow means, you know, low impact. Orange is medium impact, and red folders are the high impact ones. Anytime those news that news comes out, red folder, you're going to notice that if the results of the news are significantly different from what the market was expecting, or let's say significantly different from what happened the last time, right, that news came out, the market will react accordingly. So, you know, it's good to learn from that. Then, you know, when you look at each one of those folders in the news section, you're gonna learn a little bit. It's gonna show you specifically how each one of these variables in the news cycle affect the market in different ways.
Okay.
All right. They're also good things to educate us about.
Okay.
Yes.
So once we got the news, then we do, because I know you said the confluence, but you said that for number 3.
Technical analysis. So the second is always technical analysis. You know, in other words, this is where you're doing your charting. And like Mr. Allen was saying, you're going back in time to look at what price has done up to that point. This is where you're doing your top-down analysis, right? So number 1, news. Number 2, top-down analysis. Okay. This is where you're doing all your different technical analysis. And then this is a good time to leverage the 20 pips and dip indicator when you're doing these analyses, because this is already giving you a good foundation for establishing where your zones are, where your support and resistance is at on the different time frames and so on. So, you know, use all of that, right? News, TDA, and then keep in mind what your confluence are.
So now this taps into the wisdom of picking one pair, 1 to 3 pairs. So when you're doing those top-down analysis, you'll start to feel the rhythm of that pair, right? And so
Right.
the way you're going at the market right now, Alicia, as you get these things down, some of the other things that Coach Max is going to make 1,000% sense, right? So um, the
Right.
news, so we can be clear for this conversation, is not like watching CNN or NBC news. That like that's what it news triggers in a United States person's mind, uh, watching the weather and things like that. And this is the preset announcements for certain important things in a country's economy. And
Okay.
so there's two type of calendars. There's an earnings calendar and there's an economic calendar. You want the economic calendar. And to be able to go into the market and go fishing
Okay.
or go hunting, you want to get comfortable with what's happening on an economic calendar.
Okay.
And that's what you're going to get from forexfactory.com. I also look at investing.com as well. They seem sometimes to have a different little nuances with their news. I've heard Tito mention a third one that he goes to at times to look at his economic calendars. And Tito, if you can, like, let that, so because we're recording this, so that way whoever comes back and listen can get the value as well. What's that third calendar that you go to outside of Forex Factory and investing.com?
My effects book. My effects book.
Right.
I have it on
My,
an app on my phone. That app, what's really nice about it is that it will actually send you notifications to your phone whenever news comes out.
Right.
Significant news, especially like those red folder ones. And I have found one of the reasons why I like my FX book so much is that there are times where it will go into more detail about the news than forexfactory.com.
Right.
Forexfactory.com will always cover the major ones. But you'll get a little bit more detail sometimes with my effects book about the news itself. So I personally find it valuable. It also kind of comes down to your style of trading if you really need that level of detail, but they're all good to have and study. When it comes to that part of your
okay.
trading process.
So because we're recording, can you go to investing.com and that for a second, and then we'll go through myforexbook.com. So we able to document all three of them. And if somebody got a different question, please jump in. This is just us kind of having our trading talk. Yeah. So right before you go to calendars, though, right before you go to
Also, I saw with the trading.
hold on one second, Alicia. Right before you go to calendar, scroll all the way down. I want to make another point that's on investing.com.
Okay.
Right there. Stop where you at. Oh no. Right. Yeah, where it says central banks.
Okay.
Come a little bit down. It's on your right, Tito. Right there. So one of the things that happened for me as growing as a trader, as I became, or I'm still becoming a global citizen, right? Where it's not just what's going on in the United States, it's what's going on in all of the 8 major currencies. So if you look in, so I still put these bank meetings. You're going to find them on economic calendar when they actually happen that day, but this is more of a forecasting. So if you look at where it says Fed, right, that's the United States Central Bank, right? Their next interest rate meeting is going to be on November the 5th. ECB is the European Central Bank, which is the Euro. The BOE is the Bank of England, which is the Great British Pound Central Bank. The SNB is the Switzerland National Bank. And if you look, which is super interesting, they have a negative 75% interest rate. Don't mean anything to anybody today, but it's just interesting that they actually have a negative interest rate for their whole country, right? Then the RBA is the Republic Bank of Australia. They have their next meeting on November the 3rd. The Bank of Canada is the CAD. The RBNZ is the Republic Bank of New Zealand. That's the 25%. And Japan has had a negative interest rate for a while, the BOJ, right?
Right.
But now as we're trading pairs, you take a step back. It's actually these 8 currencies that get mixed between each other like a prize fight, and each bank's interest rate decision is one of the biggest movers during a news event, right? So thank you for that part, Tito. So I look at this and I actually chart it. Scroll up to the top for me. And so right there next to up all the way up. No. Keep going. Right next to coronavirus, it says economic calendar. Up and to the right. Right. So earnings calendars for stock market, economic calendars for Forex. And so
Okay.
what I would do is I would go to this on a Saturday, and I would go look at next week. Yep.
Okay.
And then I would go for the pairs I was trading. I would put all of the news that was happening for the week in my phone on Saturday for the next week. So I would get an hour early alert so I wouldn't get stuck moving around inside that trade. So if you get an account here and it's free, you can actually filter this to be able to take out every pair that you're not trading. So that's what I do on top of Forex. Natito, can you do yours on the my Forex book?
Yeah, I usually use my Forex book on the app, but we could check it out here.
Okay, thank you.
You know, this is some good information because if we really look at it, we're all based on the American race and the presidential race because everything looks like it's on the down right now. But I think we're going to really be doing good after November the 5th. Because that's when that last bank, that's what you were saying, Dan, about November the 5th.
No, that's the interest rate decision, that's not the presidential election. Every couple months. Okay.
Right. So I was saying that based on the presidential race, I know they're dealing with this part with the time and the calendar as far as when they actually come to the table and decide their interest rate. But what I'm saying is that if we look at it at a bigger picture, a lot of it is going to be centered around how everything's going to come out in the presidential race.
That's only going to be true for the Fed, though. That's only going to be true for the Fed because you can actually just stay away from the So when Brexit was happening, right, Queen? So Brexit was a big deal in the GBP, the Bank of England. So I just didn't trade anything that had the GEP on it. So you can actually spend a whole week trading and never touch a dollar pair. So every pair that has the dollar in it, inside of our world, we call them the majors. But if you trade the euro versus the New Zealand dollar, what's going on in America has nothing to do with that. It won't influence it at all. If you trade the euro versus the Japan, the Japanese yen, the dollar won't have anything to do with it at all. That's one of the things that was so impressive to me about trading Forex is because you can actually go to the countries or the central banks more specifically and look at what's happening with those two countries and then go. So it might even be right. It might even be smart to stay away from the dollar on November.
Yeah.
November 4th.
You're right. I love it. It's actually Forex is it. You know, everybody's. I had a question because in class I know there's a lady teaching. It's so staying with this. What's indices? Is that these traded markets here? Is because they had like a lady training. I forgot her name, Tokyo, and she's more of an indices person. What's the difference between those two? I mean,
Perfect.
I may do Forex. I mean, I may do mutual funds as a financial advisor, but this side of it, I'm so unfamiliar. What is it?
Go ahead, Tito.
As far as indices go, what's the difference between indices and Forex pairs? Just to be clear? Okay. So indices are basically, let's call them conglomerates of different, let's say, assets, right? So indices can be a combination of all different stocks, right, in a certain market, or indices can be a reference, a look at a pair, not a pair, at a currency weighted against other currencies. So perfect example is the DXY. The DXY is the DXY is the US dollar when weighted against other currencies in the world, right? There's a certain formula to that, and you can research that and look into what that formula is. But basically, in a nutshell, the DXY is an index that tells you what the strength of the US dollar is in comparison to certain other major currencies in the world. Okay, so they can give you a good idea of where the US dollar is at in reference to the rest of the world. That's generally what an index is. It's more or less, let's call it an average of the strength of a given currency or market, right? Because it can also apply to stocks and whatnot.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Not a problem. So yeah, this is forexfactory.com. This is the calendar here on Forex Factory. This is possibly the most popular source of looking at news in the markets. Just a little nugget that I wanted to share. Last week, we were talking about consolidation a little bit. We went into consolidation. We went into reversal patterns and that kind of thing. Something that I have found to be useful sometimes whenever you're looking at a pair that is in consolidation where the price is moving sideways, as we say, is to get a confluence to estimate where it might go. Look at what the news is saying at that moment about that particular currency. And that can give you some idea about where it's going to break out to when it comes time for it to break out, okay? Consolidation is a good opportunity to prepare for entry on a pair and do your fundamental analysis, technical analysis. Look at the news, look at all of your top-down analysis stuff, and then prepare to enter and, you know, basically set up the trade in such a way where you can anticipate which direction it's going to break out in. News can be very helpful for that. And a lot of times news will come out well before the breakout happens. Okay. So this is just another tidbit for you to use.
So Tito, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You've been trading for, I believe you said 4 years. I studied pretty much everybody that I respect as a trader. You're one of those people. And we've been going into a deep dive on how to go into the market ourselves and fish, which I believe is the third stage of trading this whole process, which is not using the trade alerts. From your perspective, now that you already knew how to trade before you got here, you already had a trading plan on a whiteboard that looked like it was already there before we started this session. Like you didn't just do it for us. So my question to you specifically is, what is the value that you've gotten on the first two steps of this learning how to be a trader thing, the being on a live session, and then also leaning on the trade alerts? What have you experienced watching those other two stocks, those other two processes of being a trader, and could you be profitable just with those two if you never did this one?
Could I be profitable with just the live sessions and just the signals? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
I believe so. You know, if only because the team that is providing the signals, you know, are the same people that are bringing the value on the education side. So in other words, they are applying and practicing what they preach on those live sessions and giving it to you in a tangible way that you can actually profit directly and learn from. More importantly, in my opinion, what you learn from it is going to be more valuable than even the money that, let's say, you're going to make from a given signal, right? Because this is where learning how to fish, like you said, you know, becomes it now is in the spotlight versus just kind of like somebody giving you a fish on a few signals. So to answer your question, there is no doubt that by design in this company, in this school, there are more than enough tools and resources for you to be profitable right out the gate. That doesn't negate the importance of learning and taking the time to really sharpen your own skills and ability, but everything has been set up you know, in such a way by Coach Max and the team that it's just to me, there's nothing that can compare to all of the different bases that have been covered. They've really thought of everything, and there's more to come from what I gather. But you know, it's good to go. You know, anybody that wants to come in right off the street. So I hope that answers your
You know,
question.
Dan and Tito, I thank you so much for clarifying that. You know, because where I'm at the 2 a.m., I'm like the one that's got to learn to study if I'm going to fish during those hours, because I'm going to need to rely a little bit on the calendars. And this is for me, myself, because I am an early morning person, and I can sit up to I was up to about 4 this morning. So, you know, I'm one of those that I'm going to have to, like you said, and I'm glad I got on this call today, because these calendars and the market and where you're looking at things, it helps me. And this is something I'm asking as a question: is this where I learned to set my stop and I set my going entry and my stop loss? Is this how I gauge it based on this information you're giving me? Since I won't really have the trade alerts to utilize.
Well, at 2 a.m. you have the live trade session, and you're actually from Monday to Thursday. You are walking right into a perfect time, because you can still go right into a live session with the coaches. That's where I would start you off with.
Okay.
Yeah. So 2 a.m. is a beautiful time to get into the market. But I would do it through a live trade session. But no, your stop losses and your take profits, if you're going to go fish, you have to go on a chart and then kind of gauge from I will go through the 2-week syllabus as well. That's definitely for everybody. I think Tito will agree. And from there, you'll get some more comprehension. When you watch Coach Max then go in her top-down analysis, she'll start showing how she draws her major support and resistance lines. You'll want to learn the zones from Ryan, and that's just looking at older material. But 2 a.m., I will go straight to the live trade session. And then
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, Coach Max has given you that she's giving you the helmet, the knee pads, the training wheels, and a nice flat surface to practice riding on. It's all there.
I'm so epic. You know, I don't even know what to say. I'm so epic. I'm so epic.
When it comes to 20 pips and dip, right? The 2-week syllabus, 20 pips and dip, it's all laid out for you. It's all very simple. You know, once you learn that process, you are going to be setting your stop loss and your take profit, both at 20 pips, right? So like I said, Coach Max has kept it very simple, very easy to understand, and giving you everything you need to do it as safely as possible right out the gate. So definitely use that. Do your 2-week syllabus and get on those live sessions.
Got it. Thank you again. Thanks so much.
So we're here at we're at 11:48 Eastern right now, everybody. So we're pretty much at the end of our time. Thank you all once again for coming. I hope that you got some good nuggets out of this session. Definitely news. Please take that to heart. News is extremely important to look at before you enter a trade. And Mr. Allen, is there anything you'd like to add before we close for today?
Absolutely. I want to pass the microphone to our partner, Mr. Rambis, see if you got anything you want to promote that everybody could benefit from. Sir?
Well, first, let me say, man, you guys just be crushing this Saturday Q&A. I know I get a lot of value out of it, and I appreciate both of you so much, tremendously, the value that you're bridging the gap from Epic to our family, the Freedom family. So we appreciate you guys. Today, of course, I'll be hosting in 10 minutes the first opportunity Zoom, our weekend blitz for those who are on the B quadrant side as well. Of course, that's only if you choose to build that side. We'll be doing 3 Zooms a day, today and tomorrow. That is actually posted in the Millionaire March. I don't have the actual ID number. It's the 777 ID number. I do know that. Starting at 12, again at 5, and then again we rounded up tonight at 9 p.m. today and tomorrow. 12, 5, and 9 opportunity Zooms. Load in your guests if you want to build the residual side. And also we have the company platform, a training today from Mr. Jonathan Green and Mark Sterling, both of whom I spent some time with yet at the headquarters. Guys, it's going to be an amazing office here in Atlanta. Finally got my Epic gear. So they actually are doing a training at 1 p.m. This afternoon, 1 p.m. at opportunity.epictrading.com on Zoom. Of course, 1 p.m. Eastern at opportunity.epictrading.com. Of course, again, appreciate all that you guys do. Have a phenomenal rest of your day. Thank you. Turn it back over to you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Allen, Mr. Rambis. Appreciate everybody coming out. We shall reconnect again. If you have any any other things we have not gone over yet, please drop them in the GEP chat. And yeah, that wraps it up for the day. Have a beautiful weekend, everybody. Take care.